The May sun beat down on my cap and gown as I stood outside Howard University's graduation ceremony, diploma in hand, searching the crowd for my parents. 4 years of late nights, part-time jobs, and sacrifice had led to this moment. I'd graduated summa cum laude with a degree in computer science, already holding a job offer from a tech company in Seattle starting at $95,000 a year. My phone buzzed with congratulations from friends, but I needed to see my parents' faces. I needed them to finally say they were proud. I spotted them near the parking lot, my father Gregory in his Sunday suit, my mother Diane in her church dress. My younger sister Kendra stood beside them, scrolling through her phone with that bored expression she'd perfected. I jogged over, diploma raised high like a trophy. I did it. Can you believe it? My father's jaw tightened. My mother's smile looked painted on, cracking at the edges. The silence stretched between us like a chasm opening in the earth. Kendra didn't even look up. Well, I pressed, my excitement faltering. Aren't you going to say something? My father exchanged a glance with my mother, the kind of look that said they'd been discussing something I wasn't supposed to know about. He cleared his throat, adjusted his tie. We need to talk, Jeffrey, about your responsibilities now that you're done playing student. The word playing hit me like a slap. My mother nodded, her purse clutched tight against her chest like armor. Around us, other families were hugging, crying, celebrating. We stood in our bubble of tension, and I felt the first tremor of something breaking inside me. We moved to a quieter spot under an oak tree, away from the celebration. The sounds of joy seemed to mock the heaviness settling over us. My father spoke first, his voice flat and businesslike. Your mother and I have been discussing your job offer. That salary you're so proud of? We figure you can afford to send us about $2,000 a month. Call it payback for everything we invested in you. I laughed, actually laughed, because surely this was a joke. Dad, I haven't even started yet. I've got student loans, I need to find an apartment in Seattle. Student loans. My mother's voice cut through mine like a knife. We took out a second mortgage to help with your expenses when your scholarships didn't cover everything. You think that diploma came free? I stared at her, my mind reeling. They'd never mentioned a second mortgage. I'd worked 2 jobs through college specifically to avoid burdening them. I worked my tail off to minimize what you paid, I said, trying to keep my voice level. I had scholarships, grants, I worked at the library and we still had to sacrifice, my father interrupted. Your sister's college fund? Gone. Our retirement savings? Depleted. You got your fancy degree while we got nothing but debt and grey hair. Kendra finally looked up from her phone, and I saw something ugly in her smirk. Mom and Dad have been struggling, Jeffrey, but you wouldn't know because you were too busy being the golden child on campus. The accusation stunned me. Golden child? I'd sent money home whenever I could spare it. I'd come home every break to help around the house. Kendra got into state, my mother said quietly. But there's no money left for her now. Because we spent it all on you. The guilt they were wielding felt like a weapon pressed against my throat, making it hard to breathe. My father pulled out his phone and showed me a spreadsheet. We calculated everything. 4 years of expenses, adjusted for inflation and opportunity cost. You owe us approximately $87,000. The $2,000 a month is generous. It'll only take you 3.5 years to pay us back. I looked at the numbers swimming on the screen, my engineering mind automatically checking the math. It was inflated, padded with expenses that had nothing to do with my education. Groceries they would have bought anyway. Utilities that didn't change when I came home for Christmas. This isn't fair, I said, my voice shaking. You're my parents, not loan sharks. Fair. My mother's voice rose. Was it fair that we had to cancel our anniversary trip to Aruba because you needed a new laptop? Was it fair that your father's been working overtime for 4 years while you were partying at campus? I wasn't partying. I was studying, working, building a future for yourself, she snapped. While we're stuck here, drowning. Kendra stepped closer, her phone now recording. Just admit it, Jeffrey. You used them. You got what you wanted and now you're trying to walk away. The phone's red recording light felt like an accusation. Are you seriously recording this? She shrugged. Receipts. For when you abandon the family. My father nodded approvingly at her. That's when I saw it clearly, the alliance they'd formed against me. The narrative they'd constructed where I was the villain in my own success story. I'll help how I can, I said slowly, but I can't commit to $2,000 a month right out of college. Let me get settled, figure out my budget. There it is, my father said to my mother, as if I'd proven some point. The excuses start already. We wasted our money on you, my mother said, her words deliberate and cold. All that sacrifice, and you can't even take care of the people who gave you everything. The words hung in the air like smoke from a fire that would burn for years. Something shifted in me right then, standing under that oak tree with my diploma clutched in my sweating hand. I thought about the nights I'd survived on ramen to save money. The job offers I'd turned down during school because they conflicted with classes. The girlfriend I'd broken up with because I couldn't afford to split my focus between love and survival. Every sacrifice I'd made to earn this degree, they were rewriting as selfishness. I looked at my father, really looked at him. Saw the expectation in his eyes, the entitlement. Looked at my mother, who'd taught me that family meant unconditional love, now attaching price tags to her affection. Looked at Kendra, who'd always resented my ambition, now weaponizing my success against me. You know what? I said, and I felt this strange calm wash over me. You're absolutely right. They blinked, surprised by my agreement. I am, my father said. You are, my mother echoed. Completely, I said, and I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile or a sad smile. It was the smile of someone cutting a rope they'd been hanging from. You did waste your money on me. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take your advice and focus on my future. My own future. The one you just made clear I built on my own. Jeffrey, my mother started, but I held up my hand. I'm done. I'm done being the villain in your story. I'm done being blamed for succeeding. I'm done apologizing for working hard. My father's face went red. Boy, you better watch your tone, or what? You'll disown me? Consider it mutual. I turned to walk away, and Kendra grabbed my arm. You're really going to abandon us? After everything? I looked at her hand on my sleeve, then met her eyes. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm just declining to be extorted by my own family. I shook her off gently and walked toward my car. My hands shook as I drove away from the campus, my phone exploding with texts. My mother, how dare you speak to us like that? My father, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Kendra, everyone's going to know what kind of person you really are. I pulled into a Walmart parking lot and sat there, engine running, air conditioning blasting, trying to process what had just happened. My graduation day. The day I'd dreamed about since freshman year. Ruined. Or was it? I looked at my diploma on the passenger seat. Jeffrey Deshawn Salinas, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, summa cum laude. Nobody could take that from me. Not my parents' bitterness, not Kendra's jealousy, not their revisionist history of my college years. I'd earned this. Every late night, every sacrifice, every choice that led me here, those were mine. The pride they wouldn't give me, I'd have to find myself. I called my best friend, Jamal, who picked up on the first ring. Yo, graduate. How's it feel? Jamal, my voice cracked. I need to crash at your place tonight. Silence. Then, what happened? I told him everything, the words pouring out like water from a broken dam. The spreadsheet, the accusations, the recording, the ultimatum. When I finished, Jamal whistled low. Man, that's heavy. You know you can stay as long as you need, right? Just tonight, I said. I start apartment hunting in Seattle tomorrow. I'm not staying in this city one more day than I have to. They really said they wasted money on you? On graduation day? Direct quote. Another whistle. That's cold, Jeffrey. That's Sub-Zero. Yeah, I agreed, watching families walk past my car carrying graduation balloons and flowers. But you know what? It clarified everything. I don't owe them my future. I don't owe them anything. Damn right you don't, Jamal said. Come over. We'll order pizza, play some Call of Duty, forget today ever happened. But I knew I wouldn't forget. This day would stay with me forever, just not the way I'd once hoped. I showed up at Jamal's apartment with nothing but my diploma and the clothes on my back. His mom, Mrs. Rodriguez, took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug that made my eyes sting. Your mama called me, she said quietly. Told me you disrespected them at graduation. Want to tell me your side? So I did. I sat at their kitchen table and told her everything, including details I hadn't shared with Jamal. Mrs. Rodriguez listened, her expression growing darker with each revelation. That spreadsheet, she finally said. Did it include the $1,500 you sent them last Christmas? Or the $1,000 you gave them when your dad's car broke down? I stared at her. How did you? Because my sister, your mama, bragged about it. Said you were such a good son, always thinking of family. Now suddenly you're selfish. She shook her head. This doesn't add up, mijo. My phone rang. Aunt Carol, my father's sister. I almost didn't answer, but Mrs. Rodriguez nodded at me to take it. Jeffrey, Aunt Carol's voice was tight with anger, but not at me. I just got off the phone with your father. He told me what happened, and I need you to know something. This isn't about money. This has never been about money. Then what? It's about control. Your daddy, he's terrified. You're about to make more than he ever has, move further than he ever did. That scares him. Makes him feel small. So he's trying to make you small too. Her words hit like a revelation. My father had worked the same factory job for 25 years, never advancing past shift supervisor. He'd always had this edge when I talked about my classes, my internships, my job prospects. I'd thought it was concern. And your mama, Aunt Carol continued, she's been poison in his ear about Kendra. Talking about fairness, about how you got opportunities Kendra didn't. But Kendra got caught cheating in high school, got suspended twice. That's why state was her only option, not because of money. I felt like the ground was shifting under my feet. Nobody told me, because they rewrote the story, baby. Made you the villain so they didn't have to face Kendra's failures. I'm sorry you're going through this, but you did the right thing walking away. That night, alone in Jamal's guest room, I made the mistake of checking the family group chat. Big mistake. My cousin Terence had started it. Yo, what happened at Jeffrey's graduation? Your parents look tight on Facebook. Before I could respond, my mother had posted a long message. When children forget where they come from, when they think education makes them better than family, when they refuse to help the parents who sacrificed everything, that's when you know you failed as a parent. We gave Jeffrey everything, and he couldn't even promise to help us in our retirement. Prayers needed. The responses rolled in. Aunt Sharon, that's terrible, Diane. After all you did for him. Uncle Ron, kids these days have no respect. My cousin Nicole, did he really say he wouldn't help y'all? I watched the narrative being built in real time, brick by brick, a castle of lies with me as the dragon. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could defend myself, explain what really happened, show them the ridiculous spreadsheet. But something Mrs. Rodriguez had said stopped me. Don't wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, but the pig likes it. Instead, I typed one message, I love you all. I wish today had gone differently. I'm going to focus on starting my career now. I hope you all understand. Simple. Dignified. Refusing to engage in the drama they were trying to create. My mother's response was immediate. That's it? That's all you have to say after breaking your parents' hearts? Kendra jumped in. Wow. Just wow. This is really who you are, Jeffrey? Cold. Uncle Ron, answer your mother, boy. I put the phone down and stared at the ceiling. Jamal knocked and came in with a beer. You good? They're destroying me in the group chat, I said. Already got the family thinking I'm some ungrateful monster. Jamal took my phone, read for a minute, then locked it and handed it back. You know what I see? I see people who are mad they can't control you anymore. That's not about you being wrong. That's about them being scared. Scared of what? Of you proving that you don't need them. That success is possible without their approval. That's terrifying to people who never took the risk themselves. Sunday morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Jeffrey? This is Professor Mitchell. From your senior capstone class. My computer science professor, the one who'd recommended me for the Seattle position. Professor Mitchell, hi. How did your mother called the department yesterday. Said you'd had a mental health crisis and wouldn't be able to take the job in Seattle. Asked us to contact the company and explain you needed to stay local for treatment. The air left my lungs. She what? I told her we don't make those calls for students, and that you'd seemed perfectly stable on Friday. But Jeffrey, I'm calling because she sounded very convincing. If I didn't know you, I might have believed her. My hands clenched. This is about graduation. We had a disagreement about money. I figured it was something like that. Listen, I'm calling from my personal phone for a reason. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but your mother also called HR at the Seattle company. I have a friend there who gave me a heads up. My heart stopped. What did she say? That you have a gambling problem and owe the family significant debts. That you're not reliable and they should rescind the offer before you relocate. I stood up so fast I knocked over Jamal's desk chair. That's a complete lie. I've never gambled in my life. Professor, I know, Jeffrey. I know. That's why I'm calling. My friend in HR is taking your mother's call with a grain of salt, but I wanted to warn you. Someone might reach out to verify. How could she do this? But even as I asked, I knew. If I moved to Seattle, made that salary, built that life, it would prove I didn't need them. It would prove their narrative wrong. So they were trying to destroy what I'd built before I could even start. Professor Mitchell, thank you. Thank you so much for warning me. You're one of the best students I've had in 20 years, Jeffrey. Don't let family politics derail your future. And Jeffrey, document everything. These kinds of situations can escalate. After we hung up, I sat in stunned silence. My own mother had tried to sabotage my job. My father must have known. And Kendra had probably been the one to suggest it. I spent Sunday calling everyone I needed to call. First, HR at the Seattle company. Hi, this is Jeffrey Salinas. I understand my mother may have contacted you with some concerns. The HR rep, a woman named Jennifer, was quiet for a moment. Mr. Salinas. Yes. We received a call. However, given that you're an adult and your references from Professor Mitchell and your internship supervisors have been stellar, we took it as concerned parenting. Is everything all right? My family is upset about my relocation, I said carefully. They're having trouble accepting that I'm moving so far away. Everything she told you is untrue. I'm happy to submit to any background checks or drug tests you'd like to confirm this. That won't be necessary, Jennifer said. But I appreciate your transparency. We'll make a note in your file about the situation. Next, I called my bank and set up alerts on all my accounts. Changed all my passwords. Called the credit bureaus and froze my credit. Professor Mitchell's warning about escalation echoed in my mind. If they'd try to sabotage my job, what else would they try? I documented everything, screenshots of the group chat, a detailed account of graduation day, the timeline of events. Sent it all to a cloud storage account only I could access. Jamal watched me work from the doorway. You really think they'll try something else? My mother tried to cost me a $95,000 job, Jamal. Over $2,000 a month. Do the math. He whistled. That's some next-level petty. It's not petty. It's war. They're trying to trap me here, keep me dependent, I pulled up apartment listings in Seattle. I'm flying out Wednesday. Gonna find a place and start my job 3 weeks early if they'll let me. What about your stuff? You've got things at your parents' house, right? I thought about my childhood bedroom. My books, my clothes, my PlayStation, the desktop computer I'd built sophomore year. All of it in that house, hostage to their anger. Consider it a loss, I said. Everything I really need, I can replace. Everything I can't replace, my degree, my job offer, my self-respect, I'm keeping away from them. Jamal nodded slowly. You've changed, man. Like, since yesterday. You're different. Had to, I said. They were counting on me staying the good son who always tries to fix things. That version of Jeffrey died under that oak tree. Tuesday afternoon, Aunt Carol called again. Jeffrey, I convinced your parents to have a family meeting. Tonight. Just you, them, and me as mediator. A chance to talk this through calmly. Every instinct screamed no. But Aunt Carol had been in my corner, and maybe, there was a chance to salvage something. Okay, I agreed. But at a public place. The Denny's on 5th Street. Why not the house? Because I don't trust them not to team up on me. Public means witnesses. Aunt Carol was quiet. You really think they tried to sabotage my job, Aunt Carol? Yes, I think they'd do worse. I showed up 15 minutes early, took a booth in the back corner where I could see the door. My parents arrived with Kendra, despite this supposedly being immediate family only. Aunt Carol looked apologetic. Kendra insisted. We sat, tension thick as concrete. The waitress took our order with wide eyes, clearly sensing the drama. My father spoke first. Son, I think we got off on the wrong foot. Your mother and I have been thinking. Before you continue, I interrupted, pulling out my phone, I want you to know I'm recording this. For my records. My mother's face went red. You don't trust us now. You called my employer and lied about me having a gambling problem. So no, I don't. Kendra gasped. Mom, you didn't. But the guilt on my mother's face told the truth. Aunt Carol turned to her sister-in-law, shocked. Diane, you did what? I was trying to protect him, my mother said weakly. That job is too much pressure, too far away. I thought if he stayed local, we could all work through this as a family. You thought, I said slowly, that destroying my career would make me want to stay close to you. My father cleared his throat. Look, maybe that was too far. But Jeffrey, we're still your parents. We still deserve respect and consideration. The $2,000 a month, we're willing to negotiate. Maybe $1,500. You're willing to negotiate down on extorting me? How generous. Kendra leaned forward. See, this is what I'm talking about. This attitude. This disrespect. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. When's the last time you paid rent, Kendra? When's the last time you held a job longer than 3 months? That's none of your. It's absolutely my business when you're calling me selfish. I worked my way through college. You got suspended twice, barely graduated high school, and now you're living at home rent-free at 22. But I'm the problem. Aunt Carol's eyes widened. She hadn't known about the suspensions. Is that true, Kendra? My parents both started talking at once, trying to defend her, redirect, anything to avoid facing the truth. And that's when I realized, this meeting was never about reconciliation. It was about regaining control. I'm done, I said, standing up. This meeting is over. My father grabbed my wrist. Sit down. We're not finished. I looked at his hand on my wrist, then at his face. Let go of me. Not until you hear us out. Dad, let go or I'm calling the police. He released me like I'd burned him. Around us, other diners were watching now. The waitress hovered nervously by the kitchen. My mother started crying, loud, dramatic sobs that filled the restaurant. My own son, she wailed. Threatening to have his father arrested. What did we do to deserve this? You want a list? I asked quietly. You tried to sabotage my job. You posted lies about me in the family group chat. You demanded money with a fake spreadsheet that inflated expenses. You blamed me for Kendra's failures. You told me on my graduation day that you wasted money on me. Should I continue? Aunt Carol stood up too. I think we all need to take a breath. No, I said. No more breaths. No more chances. No more meetings. I'm leaving Seattle on Friday. I'm blocking all your numbers. You want a relationship with me in the future? Here's what needs to happen. Therapy, individual and family. A genuine apology. And respect for my boundaries. Until then, I'm done. You'll come crawling back, my father said coldly. When life gets hard and you need family, you'll remember who's always been there. You're right, I agreed. I will remember who was there. Aunt Carol, Professor Mitchell, Mrs. Rodriguez, Jamal. The people who supported me without conditions. The people who celebrated my success instead of resenting it. I pulled out my wallet and dropped $40 on the table. That's for everyone's food. Consider it the last money you'll ever see from me. I walked out of that Denny's with my head high, even as my mother's sobs followed me into the parking lot. Aunt Carol caught up with me at my car. Jeffrey, wait. I turned, and she hugged me. I'm so sorry. I thought I could help, but I see now, they're not ready to hear what you're saying. They might never be. I know, I said. But I'm not waiting around to find out. She pressed a piece of paper into my hand. My number. When you're settled in Seattle, call me. And Jeffrey, your grandfather would be proud of you. He always said a man has to know when to walk away from poison, even if it's in his own family tree. Friday morning, I woke up at Jamal's place for the last time. My flight to Seattle left at noon. I'd sold or donated most of my possessions, packed everything else into 2 suitcases. Starting over with almost nothing felt terrifying and liberating at the same time. Mrs. Rodriguez made me a huge breakfast. For the plane, she insisted, packing extra in Tupperware. And mijo, you call us when you land. We're your family now too. Jamal drove me to the airport. We didn't talk much, just listened to old playlists from freshman year. At the terminal, he pulled me into a hug. You're doing the right thing, you know. Doesn't feel right. Feels like I'm running away. Nah, Jamal said. Running away is escaping. You're running toward something better. There's a difference. As I went through security, my phone buzzed. Against my better judgment, I looked. My father had sent one final text. When you fail out there, don't expect us to catch you. You made your choice. Live with it. I almost replied. Almost defended myself one more time. Instead, I blocked the number. Then my mother's. Then Kendra's. One by one, I cut the threads that had been strangling me. On the plane, I sat by the window and watched DC shrink below me. Somewhere down there, my parents were probably telling relatives how ungrateful I was. Kendra was probably posting on social media about abandonment. The narrative they'd constructed would continue without me. But I didn't need to be part of their story anymore. I pulled out my laptop and opened a document. Started writing everything down, not to share, but to remember. To process. To have a record of the truth when their version tried to rewrite my memories. The woman next to me, maybe 50, noticed my Howard diploma peeking out of my backpack. Congratulations, she said warmly. Thank you, I replied. It's been a complicated week. The best things usually are, she said. I'm Dr. Patricia Ochoa. I teach at UW Seattle. What brings you out west? A job. A fresh start. A chance to build a life on my own terms. She smiled. The best reason. Welcome to Seattle, young man. You're going to do great things. I wanted to believe her. Needed to believe her. Maybe if I kept moving forward, eventually I'd believe it myself. 6 months later, I stood in my Seattle apartment. Small, but mine, looking at the city lights spread out below. My first performance review had come back, exceeds expectations. I'd made friends on my team, joined a gym, even started dating a woman named Tasha who worked in marketing. Life hadn't been easy, but it had been mine. No one telling me I owed them for my success. No spreadsheets demanding repayment for being raised. My phone buzzed. "Aunt Carol, your mother's in the hospital. Heart attack. She's okay, but she's asking for you." I stared at the message for a long time. Felt the old guilt trying to resurface, the old programming that said family means dropping everything. But I remembered graduation day. Remembered the sabotaged job. Remembered being called a waste of money. I typed back, "I'll send flowers. But I'm not coming. Aunt Carol, I understand. For what it's worth, I think your father finally realizes what he lost. He asked about you yesterday. Cried." "Good," I replied. "Maybe pain will teach him what love couldn't." Was I cold? Maybe. But I'd learned something crucial. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty. Protecting yourself isn't selfishness. Sometimes the people who gave you life aren't equipped to support the life you're building. I pulled up my banking app and looked at my savings. In 6 months, I'd saved $30,000. No $2,000 monthly drain. Just me, building wealth, building security, building the future they said I was selfish for wanting. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. My father's voice. "Son, I know I messed up. Your mother's sick and it made me think. We're getting older. We're going to need help eventually. I hope you can forgive us." Delete. Because here's what I'd learned. Forgiveness isn't reconciliation. I could forgive them for being flawed, frightened people who handled my success badly. But that didn't mean letting them back into my life to do it again. Tasha knocked on my door. "You ready? Everyone's waiting at the restaurant for your promotion celebration." Promoted to senior developer after 6 months. My boss said I was the fastest advancement he'd seen in years. "Yeah," I said, grabbing my jacket. "Let's go celebrate with people who actually want to see me succeed." As I locked my apartment door, I thought about that oak tree, that graduation day, that moment when everything shattered. It had broken me, yes. But from those broken pieces, I'd built something stronger. Something mine. Something they couldn't take away or diminish or attach price tags to. If you believe people should support your success, not resent it, hit that subscribe button. If you think family should celebrate your achievements instead of sabotaging them, drop a comment saying I stand for genuine support. Only manipulators and toxic people who think they own your future won't engage. Let's build a community that believes in breaking free from those who try to trap us, because everyone deserves to succeed without guilt, and if you can't stand people like Jeffrey's parents who weaponize love, you know exactly what to do. Hit subscribe if you believe boundaries are healthy. Only those who think they're entitled to control others won't.